Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is Johnboy. It is Johnboy time. I am your host. I am John Fahey. I am the COVID kid. I am COVID barely 18. Joining me as ever, stinker, a pee-pee drinker, standing accused of Drinko's pee-pee,
and sitting down while I swallow it.
guilty as charged, Michelangelo's David Duchovny, Aaron Joseph Peter.
Man, you know, I always think like, man, I'm gonna add some cool stuff onto that,
Yeah,
and like, how could I? You know,
there's a lot.
I mean, how could I add anything better to that?
I know.
I just, you know, it's
I get like a new one every couple of months, and I'm like, oh yeah, that fucking works.
that's good.
And the great thing is too is that, you know, some listeners will they'll be like, can you introduce him as this? Like they'll offer them, and I'm like, oh cool. But I'm still picky about him. But there have been some really good ones sent to me that I actually need to go through and be like, oh yeah, I should probably do that, because some of you guys really come up with some good ones, and
Yeah, man.
it's really cool.
Now,
They're in the groove of it.
yeah, they're in the goose.
Yeah, you in a swamp?
Oh no, you get ready for swamp lore. Now, to my right,
My left.
your left,
That's right.
is someone who is just like Gaul. And that's the Frenchman.
That's right. That's a Frenchman henchman, Matt Brousseau. Handsome Matt Brousseau.
They're just like Gaul.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here. Hi.
We.
Charles de Gaulle. Chuck de Gaulle.
Chuck of Gaul.
Matt immediately turns me down.
Yeah, that's the end of that.
We won't be hearing from John again. How you boys doing? You
Good.
Hey.
Good.
Great.
I was in Death Valley over the last weekend.
What's going on over there? You doing Manson shit?
No.
Cooking meth?
I did take mushrooms. Did take some mushrooms one night.
Isn't that nice?
And so many stars out there. You just sit down at night and just go, oh, man, that's where they are.
Count them.
Oh, no.
Connect the dots,
I
man.
saw all the dippers.
I did some of that recently, and the mushrooms. And I was talking to our buddy Ricky, and he was like, you just hit me up out of nowhere with that. He was like, did you know that, like, he's like, because I needed it. It is like, it's, you know, it's a reset where, like, I think one of the times, like, when I did it with him, I said something like, I was like, I just need to do this, like, monthly. And he's like, monthly's a bit much. And I was like, quarterly. You
I
know?
think quarterly is
The
good.
seasons.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of,
I think that makes sense.
yeah. And, like, also, you don't have to go ape shit with it. Like,
You do it at the equinox and the solstices.
That's good.
right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But, yeah, it was,
Fucking astrology bullshit.
it was
You don't need to
great.
do too much, but, you know, clear out the cobwebs a little bit.
Well, I mean, especially with something like mushroom, like just this thing where people are being like, how much should I take? I'm like, you can always take more.
Yeah.
I'm like, take a little, see how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, but like, once you've like taken it all, like that's that. So like, just chill. Be a grown ass man
Just chill.
Mhm.
or woman or,
Entity.
yeah. Oh, I love entities
Yeah.
Oh.
and
Hershey.
titties.
Oh.
Oh,
And taters?
oh, and toilets.
Taters and toilets. Taters and toilets.
Actually, well, I'll tell. I've got a very short but dumb Death Valley story that I'll tell on the Patreon.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't want to tell it right now?
Now tease the motherfucks.
No, let's get to the
Okay, all
let's
right.
get to the main event. But
Folks, we do got to say, PP Podcast. We do have T-shirts for sale. That is on the Etsy store. PP Podcast is on Twitter. Profiles in Eccentricity is on Instagram. Get involved with the community, man.
Come on.
Every day there's new people
Come
joining on
Yeah.
Instagram, and I'm always so happy about it. I'm always just like,
it is very
yes.
sweet. And I finally looked at Twitter again. Sorry, folks, but yeah, so I'll try to remember to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. What we got here, folks, is I would say there's some of those like pre-industrial real golden years, don't you think? Where there's some especially
Bowie's.
notable characters
in terms of show stuff, or like
in terms
where we
of
draw from.
Yeah, where we draw from. There's always
Yeah.
kind of like a period there where you go like, oh man, like
So when you talk about pre-industrial, you're talking like late 17, early 1800s. Yeah, because like the peak eras of like modern monarchy
mm-hmm.
were really getting heavy duty weird
Yeah.
because they could.
And they saw everything speeding up, and there was just like this thing of
Well, there was like modern distillery techniques for making booze.
yeah.
Hooch.
And then but like the lower classes were still tied down by manual labor,
Yeah.
and like much
But still a time of scientific and imperial discovery.
Mhm.
Well, it's also so it's
Wealth concentration,
especially
Yeah.
later in that century. They're the
which
the 17th century.
1600s,
No, sorry, 19th century.
1800s.
Yeah. Later in that century, there's an expansion of the ability for news to travel faster, and so you combine that with the history of people still believing in mythos, and some of that being torn apart by
Right.
this new sensationalism in journalism,
Yeah.
and you get a lot of dumb characters. And
Well, I'm
stupid
more about today. I'm more about the turn of the 1800s.
Okay.
The
17 to 18.
yes.
Yeah, a lot of you had a lot of wealthy holdouts of the
Yeah. But
monarchy age,
right.
if that's a thing.
But it was
Yeah.
it was that thing of we can do
Do
something.
whatever the fuck we want.
Well, yeah,
we could take over a country.
Yeah, we found something like North America, and we very successfully exploited it. So and then other places may be more challenging, like the Middle East, for example,
Africa.
right? But there was still this idea, like there was still so much to find out, and there was actually like people that would be billed historically forever after from that time as adventurers.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah,
That-
not a lot of. Well, yeah, that's
I'm an adventurer. Like, what
Yeah.
do you mean? Like, and it's,
Yeah.
but that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was a independently, historically a member of a historically wealthy family
Yeah.
with nothing to do. There wasn't a stock market, and well, there's plenty of the world that was still quote unquote savage.
Right.
Why not go fucking find it out?
You know
Yeah.
how my family used to steal stuff during the Crusades? What if I just did it by myself?
Yeah.
That is something we are going to be touching on
Oh,
for
God.
sure. But
Your Alan Quartermains.
first we're going to start here with
That's a real name.
this.
Yeah.
This is just, one that has escaped me for the longest time, and I'm kind of
Archaeologist of you.
This is the character.
yeah, I'm very amazed because it's such a high profile eccentric that I was like, holy fucking shit. But it is Hester Stanhope.
Hester.
Yeah, Lady Hester Stanhope.
Oh, okay.
And
Lady. It's a lady.
yeah,
Ooh.
she was the granddaughter of
Doug Stanhope.
nope, no polka dot suits here.
Or herpes.
Her father was Charles Stanhope, and he was an earl, and her grandfather was William Pitt. And
Same sensor, man.
she was a niece.
Of Pittsburgh.
No,
Well, it's named after Pitt.
in England.
No, never mind. My bad.
But there was William Pitt the younger also. This is like the last Caligula episode. Was the younger, the elder.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go on to occupy Downing Street. He would be the premier. And so she was, high society, right? But her dad was a weirdo, right? These things usually don't fall too far from the fucking tree, right?
Lord Byron and Ada Lovelace.
Exactly. And Lord Byron will factor in here as well.
No shit.
At some point, yeah.
Hey. All right. Now I'm paying attention.
Yeah, she was born in the year 1776, and her her dad was really into inventions and being in the lab and stuff like that. But there's a lot of money there, right?
Mhm.
And he's kind of ignoring the kids. He becomes really into the French Revolution, and he starts calling himself Citizen Stanhope,
No.
even though he's high ass society British, right?
Great.
And God damn it, started calling their massive estate with the endless beautiful gardens Democracy Hall. And she's one of
Cosplaying is a lower station.
she's one of 6, and she would kind of give it back to him a little bit, right? And that kind of raised his estimation of her. And then he would spend more time with her, and then I think his political interests and things like that would rub off on her, and she would kind of rebel and do some bold things.
Like what do you mean when she would give it back to him? Like he sent her to her room and she's like, "You're a monarch." He's like, "No, I'm a citizen."
Yeah, I mean, she would just kind of give back, like she just would
You're playing at the proletariat.
There's just that thing too, where like there's a lot of times the charm of the child is
From the mouth of babes.
yeah, well it's the thing too where you go like you look at your daughter and you're like, man, you're just a fucking pain in the ass the exact same way your mother is, and God, I love her. So now you being a pain in the ass is like actually okay, and your other
and also a little bit like yourself too,
right?
Feeds into the ego.
So there's that going on, and so she gets to kind of spend more time with him than the other kids, and I think there's a thing to impress him a lot because he's always in the lab trying to figure stuff out, and he was said to be perverted by his peers of the time. How that exactly is
Right.
teased out.
It may not be sexual perversion.
No,
it could be the fact that he calls himself citizen and he's a rich man.
Especially
his friends are like, I don't know. Look
Right.
at this man.
Especially early 1800s, a guy showing his belly to France in Britain, in high society Britain.
Showing his belly to France. Is that like a?
Not literally, but being a francophile.
Yeah,
okay.
it's not.
Oh, that's
it's
interesting
not.
phrase. I've never heard that before.
Like a dog shows you its belly.
And that's just a nice time.
Well,
you gotta rub it.
It's also like
It's a sign of submission.
Yeah.
a vulnerability, being like you can do whatever you want. I'm nothing.
Piss on me, be me.
Right.
But it's in Britain at that time, especially in high society, it is not this summer's hottest look.
Sure. Okay. Yes.
So she would try to like get her uncle William Pitt to get one of like her siblings out to go to college, and her dad had forbidden that. He just wanted them to have their own private tutoring, and she would.
But she wanted to be a woman of the people.
Well, she was trying to help her brother out because that was like women were not going to go to Oxford at this time. You know what I mean? It was like not on the cards.
Unless they were cooking.
Well, unless she was there was no reason for her to go because she was already high society. She would.
But even then, you are expected to do ladylike things.
Right, but what I'm getting at is that because she had brothers, the burden of social climbing was not on her.
Sure, yeah, but
So she didn't have to go. It would happen in other socialites.
yeah, but she's doing the climbing for him,
Of course.
and
She grabbed life by the balls.
and so
Or horns.
so her father is pissed with this kind of shit eventually, and he disowns her. She goes and she lives with her mom's mom, and
You're a man of the people.
she goes
Disowns her straight up.
yeah, dude, he's like
Jesus Christ.
oh yeah, he's like you're fucking out of here.
You won't go to college. You don't even live here.
But so she goes and lives with her
Oh, wait, no,
grandmother,
you do want to go to college?
and she's traveling on the continent and stuff. She goes abroad, right? And that's not nothing for a young lady at that time, right?
Is she by herself?
Unaccompanied, right?
Yeah, unaccompanied, and her dad too would do things like he'd be like, hey, you got to go tend to these wild turkeys,
What?
stuff like that, like because he was like kind of trying to whip the privilege out of them a little bit, and she could hang. right? With
Oh, he was saying that to all the kids.
yeah, they
God.
had to kind of go do all this shit, and
And that was
so
drink all this
yeah,
booze.
but it's similar to
Yeah, my dad made me tend to the wild.
but
turkey.
it's similar to this thing too, where you have this thing of like a similar thing and a more recent thing. I think you would agree is the Teddy Roosevelt thing, where you go like, well, now you just have like a privileged guy that's also willing to do psycho shit in the mud.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
But then he's also privileged about.
But at least, sorry.
sure, I at least yes.
Do you run the risk of creating a bit of a force of nature? That's the point.
Yeah, but do you almost embolden the bad impulses that privilege provides by being like, well, I'm willing to get my hands dirty?
Exactly. Yes.
It's a bit of a Frankenstein thing.
Yeah, but hey, well, Frankenstein's monster.
I mean, it's an interesting combo because you
Frankenstein dug him up in the mud.
Hey, yeah, so it is a Frankenstein thing, right? Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Doctor.
Exactly. It is a Dr. Frankenstein thing. But so you want them to be like, well, this is how the other half lives, but then you also don't want them to be like, well, I went swimming. Anybody can do it.
Right.
The reason you're not rich is because you're not swimming hard enough.
I just think it's so funny too, this idea that like people are getting their heads chopped off.
Metaphor.
People are getting their heads chopped off in France, and you go like, well, I'll call the estate Democracy Hall, and I'll call myself Citizen Stanhope.
So when they come for
when
me,
they come for me, and they're like, it's like nobody's emptying the bank.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's such a fucking
Citizen Stanhope.
And like the revolution went so smoothly.
Yeah, and it was orchestrated by the fucking the bourgeois class, anyways.
So
It was by the artisans and the. Anyways,
but she has this way of getting around and being around people that are important, and her grandmother passes away, and once again she's got nowhere to live, and her uncle, the younger William Pitt, he invites her to come live at his castle, Walmer Castle. Walmer Castle.
I've got some empty rooms at my castle.
And he was the Lord Warden of the Cinque Ports, and
The what?
what? Sink you ports?
I think the CINQUE.
Oh, he's a warden of
Sank.
the port of these ports where like
Yeah.
shipping. Okay. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Is that sank ports? Is that French for five? Is that how you spell five in French?
Wait, how'd you spell it?
CINQUE.
CINQ is sank.
Mm.
So probably something to that.
Sank port.
But so she was kind of put in charge of like, all right, you're gonna do all this landscaping at the back of the castle, and they're still there, and they're like these incredible gardens.
Great.
And he then is prime minister of the country, and she goes into Downing Street with him as kind of like the one that's gonna entertain everybody.
Is there any weird stuff going on?
I don't think so. No, I think
That's good to hear, man.
That's nice.
I think
really nice.
I think there was a thing of there was always this thing that recurs like with her of just admiring the kind of boldness, the just like, oh shit, like you really don't give a fuck. Okay.
That's what they say about
That
her.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And but also being interested in political matters, having something to say about it, and
Interested people are interesting.
you're right, and therefore admirable.
And she is probably pretty bored by the standard, the quote unquote standard women at these parties.
Yes,
who
100%.
who are not don't think of saying anything because they're just playing their.
Well,
this
yeah,
part,
they got to
or
talk.
don't
They
think
got to
they're
talk
allowed
about
Fabrics.
society gossip
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that. And she was just like, "Come on, will you give me a fucking break?"
Yeah.
And Eleanor Roosevelt.
Right.
People who talk about people
Yeah.
are small.
Yeah.
People who talk about events are average. People who talk about ideas are great.
And people who need people are the luckiest people of all.
Yeah. When's the loneliest number?
But
And who does number 2 work for?
but so Pitt was a bachelor, right?
Oh.
Confirmed?
He never married.
No.
Which is, we just found out through the depths of Wikipedia, code for suspected homosexual.
in British
In
obituary.
British obituaries, he never married. But so yeah,
It's an anagram.
so then everybody, there's of course at Downing Street then too. There's gonna be people coming from around the world, and so you're not just dealing with like the high society of England. There's you're getting this international experience, right?
Belgians even.
Even guys from Belgium.
I mean, even
Wow.
I mean, it was anything goes back then.
Yeah, and they're uncut.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that true?
I don't-
unfiltered?
God.
Have you seen the waffles?
But and so there's a bunch of guys that are kind of after her, but like she's seen as a wild card.
She
That's
reads.
great.
Right. Yeah. And so, there's this one guy, his name is Granville Levison Gower.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
What?
And he
Granville Levison Gower.
Levison
And
Gower.
he said that with all 40 of his teeth.
and there's there's an apostrophe in there.
Of course.
Granville Levison Gower. And he starts just taking her down deep.
What?
No,
And that
just
feels
like that?
good.
Oh.
Just like that?
Yeah, just like that.
Did he? I mean, how did he win her? How did he woo
I
her?
think he had like good finger game.
He played the piano
Yeah.
and the harpsichord.
Yeah. I think he had like sick finger moves and stuff.
Tended her garden?
Mm-hmm.
He was inbred, so he had 6 fingers on one hand.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
So, Mr. Gower,
Levison Gower.
Levison Gower.
Yeah, it's two.
Where's he from?
Where's he? I mean,
Portsmouth.
he's high society, British guy, but,
Okay, he's a high
but he's
society-
kind of a playboy too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But do we know? I mean, she seems like she's a tough nut to crack. It seems.
yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong,
but also just that guys are like intimidated.
and so that in of her reputation in and of itself was enough to dissuade certain types of men from even trying.
Or maybe
Is that what you're getting at?
I could
Yes.
So this guy was just so debonair and carefree as a playboy that he was like,
Yes, but also probably trying to level up a little bit by gaining a closer connection to her Uncle Pitt.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Was she
I
hot?
did forget about that.
There is not too much talk about the looks of her, but
Sounds like a good personality, though.
I mean,
Oh.
it's not going to be boring,
Yeah.
yeah,
all right? And
it goes a long way.
I mean, you do need
it
both.
does. But she was one of a few that he was, digging down deep and nice and good.
Some deeper than
okay.
others.
So he was an archaeologist on his own.
Oh,
was-
but he was burying the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
digging it
He was hiding treasures.
Mm.
Oh God, he comes Ryan with all his bullshit. Hey, buddy.
You're talking to hundreds of people.
Thousands. But anyway, so she's getting dick down real nice and deep, and that feels good.
Right, Ryan?
And and so he bails on her, right? And she's real fucked up by that because this is probably like the first big, possibly public, love thing, and
her brains are all scrambled on account.
but then
of
also like there's like all the society people, then all the people, all the gossip she doesn't engage in is about her and this guy now,
All these assholes.
and that hurts.
How old is she?
Yeah.
Out at this point.
Probably like a nice 19, 20.
This would be shit,
She was born in 76.
and this is 1804.
Okay, so
All right, she's in her late 20s.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah, and she was just madly in love with him, and
yeah, that's an
Oh,
age.
shit,
That
wait. Is
is.
that 28? Fuck.
yeah. And
All right.
so
I don't know.
Nailed it.
it says
I'm not going to think about it.
says that William Pitt in 1806 died from ill health.
His house was like ill.
Yeah, it was this the Beastie Boys
It'd
thing?
be weird if he died from good health. Like,
Well, you
what?
can get hit by something.
Why would you say that?
Well, I guess if you fall while
He was just too goddamn healthy.
His
Son
heart
of a bitch.
His heart exploded from being too
Son
strong.
of a bitch somersaulted into the afterlife.
His blood flow was so great, his goddamn dick exploded.
Yeah.
Split like a hot dog in a microwave.
So one
taking those pills.
now for the third time, homeless. And she, but right before Pitt died, he gave her an annual pension of £1,200
And he was
Of what?
in his capacity as prime minister
Me?
or something.
sterling. Yeah, in his capacity as prime minister, and he was just like, give her $1,200 a year.
My health is too good.
He's like, shit,
I feel too healthy.
feels so good. Give me another smoothie.
So, do you know what
Keep
that
it
is?
in the family.
£1,200 a year.
In-
That sounds like it would be a considerable
It's-
sum tonight.
and for a woman, it was like unheard of. So that was just like a pension.
Sweet.
Forever, right?
For being a good time gal.
And that feels nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking welfare queen.
So then she had fallen in love with this guy after this guy abandoned her or whatever, and he was General Sir John Moore.
General
Sir John Moore, and he was
Just a
killed.
basic
He
guy.
was killed in Spain in the Napoleonic Wars in 1808.
That's a dumb.
So now
move.
she's got another heartbreak on her hands, and one of her brothers also died there too. So that's not.
An Englishman died in Spain fighting France.
Yes.
Yeah. That's Brexit for you.
Aaron's people were over there fucking eating dirt.
What? Yeah, there's not anybody go over there. Fucking Orwell's over there.
I know.
Maybe if Americans
Hemingway.
dying over there fighting is fat.
They let everybody but the Spanish fight.
Yeah. Good move.
And they only fought the Spanish.
Yeah, we'll sit back.
Gonna wait this one out. When are the Polish arriving?
My light bulb needs screwing in.
The screen door on the submarine's broken.
So she's just like, I'm fucking off, man. I'm headed east.
East.
Yeah,
From England.
from England, and she's got this baller allowance, right? And so she's like, yeah, man, fuck all this shit, right?
I can
Get the
imagine
fuck
her
out of
saying
here.
I'm gonna go get some Eastern dick.
And also like this idea
And balls.
too that like the minute you weren't socially politically expedient, like everybody drops you.
Mm.
And then you've lost people that you love and are close to you, and you're just like,
or that you thought.
yeah.
Mhm.
And this thing of like just like I'm not supposed to be one of these fucking society ladies, like fuck
Mm.
this shit.
Yeah.
I'm
a rough and tumble girl. Likes to get her fingernails dirty out there playing with bugs and rocks.
and the idea
stuff like that.
too that like it's like her father's like discovery was in like the science thing, and hers was like, I want to go discover,
Right. Yeah.
life.
And,
The real lab is out there.
all right.
The mysteries of life.
And so she's like, she puts it out an ad for, she's like, I need a doctor. Because I'm going I'm going places where like I'm probably gonna get sick.
She's like, I need a sidekick.
A doctor on call, a traveling
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah. And
That's nice.
That's cool.
just for her. And like
Man, you
and,
better have a big old dick.
and her maid
Or balls.
If you're a woman.
her maid Elizabeth
if
Williams
you're a man.
she insisted that her maid Elizabeth Williams come
I just do the dishes.
and so this man, Charles Marion, and he applies for the medical traveling companion, and he shows up, and she asks him a few questions, and he gets the job immediately.
I've been less than honorably discharged from the hospital in London. Don't ask why.
My patients
Some
died.
unorthodox practices and proclivities, one could say.
I'm
but
afraid it was from the discharge in my trousers.
it was less than honorable.
All my patients
My good lady.
died because they were too healthy.
I was washing my hands, but that's about it.
I washed my hands of the whole thing. I wasn't there. It never happened.
The only thing I laundered was money.
So she's got the doc, she's got the maid, right?
That's a crew.
We got a regular fucking League of Extraordinary Gentle
Yeah.
People.
1810, she fucking hightails it out of England. She's like, fuck all this.
I heard
right?
Scandinavia's a thing.
And so she goes like, I'm gonna go to Gibraltar, right?
The straight?
The Rock of Gibraltar.
Straight?
Oh, back then, no.
The Rock of Gibraltar, and she
You mean the point, but the where Spain and Morocco almost touch?
you know the Rock of Gibraltar.
It's more of a dock.
The
The Strait of Gibraltar is what I'm thinking of.
there's an actual island
Called
the
the
Rock
Rock.
of Gibraltar,
Got it.
and it's really a strategic thing that the British still own to this day,
Mhm.
and it's just because of its strategic importance in the Mediterranean, and so
And it's in that area.
yeah,
where-
and there's not much going on there. It's a
No.
It's kind of a dick
but
move.
you got to hold it right. So
I think they also called it the Towers of Hercules.
so
ancient times.
she meets this guy
Pillars.
this guy Michael Bruce.
No.
Michael Bruce.
Michael Bruce.
Two first names.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so he's obviously a porn star.
What did he have any AKAs?
No, Trevor
Mike-
Madman.
Mikey
Damn it,
D.
I'm Sam Speed.
Remember.
R. Balla, Richard Baller,
Jim Fix.
Robert Baller. So
Roberto Baller.
and he is a lot younger than her, and he's laying pipe big time,
Her and the maid, huh?
big time.
And the doctor.
Who is he? What is he?
He's just a young English guy.
Nothing special about him?
No, but he's young and hot.
And she meets him in Gibraltar.
Yeah, he's got a big old.
He's got the cockage.
Oh God, big old Lincoln log,
No, he's not
Lincoln
even
was
lying.
alive.
big old stovepipe,
Okay.
and so she's like bragging about it. She loves it. She's like, look at this guy. What are you 10?
She's writing to herself back at home.
So what are you 10? You idiot? You young two-named idiot? You don't got a hyphen in your name? You're nobody. You're nothing.
Come here and fuck me,
Yeah,
silly.
and yeah, of course, Dr. Charles Marion is most scandalized.
I must say, madam, I cannot endorse this sort of union. I mean, for Christ's sake, the man's uncut.
Because he is, I don't know how to fix that, I'm afraid.
If you would only let me circumcise the poor chap, then I would sleep much better at night, please.
We'll simply have to slim this thing down.
This
It's too much.
We simply cannot let this foreskin go uncut. I mean, even the maid is she's spitting up. She's in the bed sick every night.
She's doing triple the laundry now.
You can't even clean that thing.
I mean,
Go on. Say it. Go on.
It's later.
Nice. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, he's he's loving her good down there.
Nice.
And people are like kind of like they're getting away from Britain, but they're still in these outposts of British rule. And people are kind of like, oh well, she's a fucking lady of like
Prime Minister.
like Kent, where she's from, is like that's posh. Kent is posh. Even like the Kent accent, and some of our listeners have it.
Name names.
I won't.
All right.
Francesca. But it is a notably known as a posh English accent. It sounds like estates. That's
Estate.
yeah.
Got it.
So like it's people are kind of going like, oh, she's bragging about fucking this really young guy. Okay. And then so she goes to Greece, and now the crew is like 9 people deep, right? And
That's fun.
when she is rowing up there, apparently Lord Byron is said to have dived into the water to swim out to her to greet her.
To grease her.
And yes, but yeah, no, he did not want to. What was that? You were
I thought you were gonna dive straight.
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
bush.
oh into
Her box.
oral sex.
Yeah,
Is that-
cunnilingus.
Yeah, no, he was into a different thing.
He was into all sorts of things.
Yeah, well, he would collect pubes. Do you know that?
Well, who
Did not know that.
Yeah, he would take.
Didn't know I had that in common with
He would. Yeah. My catalog of pubes. No scraps in my scrapbook.
What?
That's Sopranos.
This is my
That's a
pubic
Phil quote.
This is a pubic library.
These are Ezekiel's pubes. He's dead now.
Mhm.
R.I.P. Love you. So yeah, he's excited to see her, and then he said something later like it was more shit talky. It was like, oh,
No pubes.
a female wit. Like what a dangerous thing. It's like something,
Well, it is.
But it is, yeah. But also, like, what the fuck do you care? You know what I mean? You're sniffing pubes.
Yeah, is that shit? I mean, look, I don't know the context, so I can't judge.
Yeah.
I'm not one to judge.
So he was supposed to join the expedition at some point, the adventure, which we don't really know where it's going.
It's just a wander. It's an aimless.
Yeah, her idea, which
Wandering
was
dervish.
completely harebrained. Keep in mind, this is after her love and the brother killed in the Napoleonic Wars. She was going to go to Constantinople and try to woo the French ambassador, and then get like a visa to France, and then
Still a declaration of independence.
charm Napoleon, and then start spying for Britain. And of course, people are like, "What?
You shouldn't be telling
Yeah,
anybody.
you said this very loudly.
You've said this too loud.
yeah, I mean, she wasn't saying that, but
I'm gonna fucking agree.
this is the plan.
You watch me.
But also, there's a reason. Like, all of this comes out later for what I think, what I feel like is a very interesting reason. But so yeah, there, some of the diplomats are kind of like, I don't know about this one. Like, let's just keep her at arm's length. So that doesn't really take off, right?
It's a lot of charming, a lot of weight putting on the I'm gonna charm this guy.
But if it's gotten you this far,
right? But every fucking second that ticks.
But to be fair, she hasn't, like, the power she has is really nothing at this moment. She hasn't charmed anybody in power.
She did charm her way into Downing Street.
Yeah, but that's with
There's a little bit of nepotism there.
Family. Her uncle
are
was
you gonna bring everybody in your family into an important position? No, you're not.
No, but
it's less of a feminine wiles thing as it is a.
Well, charm is not strictly sexual, of course.
No, but as I at this point of her life, that it's always on the table.
I think it's
it's a weapon in the arsenal.
I think it is used, but I think you'll see later that.
And that's not to say it's given up. I mean, that the goods are given up. They usually aren't. when those things are on the table.
They said the very same thing about Margaret Thatcher. They were like, Margaret Thatcher.
They wanted to.
Margaret Thatcher was not fucking people, but close advisors would say, like, did she use sexuality? Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a weapon in the quiver.
I'm a female you.
Well, especially when you're going up against somebody that is,
she can really hang.
the rarest thing, which is, was suddenly a woman. And then you're like, it's just a hall of men everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go like, oh, now what do I do? And so it's disarming. And so that thing being used is just sensible.
Totally. Not making any value judgments.
I know. But so she's in Constantinople. She's going to public beheadings, right? That was very common at the time.
All turned on.
She was given a head on a plate, and she was just kind of bummed out. She was
good.
She wasn't
bummed out.
She wasn't freaked, but she was like,
the doctor was like, I think that man is in trouble.
She was like,
let me take his pulse, madam. Would you mind? Does the doctor have to advise you that this man is dead?
I think this man died of ill health.
His head fell right off.
Oh dear.
Only an ill man's head would fall right off.
God, his spine must be made of twigs.
I recommend an enema.
Sew his head on, then give him an enema.
Otherwise, it'll just come all over the place. And we're having dinner. We're supping.
So, she's now headed for Cairo, and
now that's Egypt.
and they get a shipwreck, right? They're shipwrecked.
No.
All the shit is gone, and
What shit?
Yeah, what-
Cube book?
the luggage.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, the royal luggage
The
and
mat
what that's
slug
like.
is.
So now,
And a couple of the crew.
so now you're
the
starting.
hair dryer.
You're starting over from scratch in the Middle East, right? And so,
Oof.
That's a lot of fit.
so she comes and she's like, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do here, right? She goes, all these fucking dresses and shit. She's like, fuck that. She goes, men's boots, and she starts fucking dressing like goddamn Lawrence of Arabia.
Cool. But this is before Lawrence of Arabia.
It is. And so it's like the baggy trousers, a turban, a sword, a waistcoat, and men's boots.
But how does anyone know she's a lady?
A lot of times they would not.
Wow.
And
What?
yeah,
A lady with a turban?
And so she never dressed as a lady again after that.
Cool.
Ever
It is
again.
pretty comfortable.
And so it was kind of like it was kind of a Tunisian form of dress that she was doing, and the doctor Marion, he goes they thought she was a boy with a mustache not grown, right?
She wasn't a man grown yet.
Yeah.
She was a 5'8",
So
10-year-old boy
yeah.
with a very small penis.
The strangest of things, we're still treating her. Him.
Him.
Him. Them. Us.
They thought she was a boy who bled once a month into her white tunic.
I've had to restructure my whole idea of doctoring just for this.
Every month, his penis
Falls
cries bloody tears
Like the Virgin Mary through its bifurcated ball sack.
for its shortness.
And we all shed a tear.
And we all say a prayer. So then she's the ruler of Egypt at the time is a guy named Muhammad Ali.
Hey.
Nice, dude.
And she's like, I'm gonna fucking talk to him, right? I'm just gonna go talk to him.
And he knocked her out.
And she was just like, oh, well, that's me being nice to him, right? Like I'm doing him a favor,
Right.
Right.
and
She's
and
So
so
it is a confidence you have to have in that situation, I suppose.
so she
and he doesn't want to be transphobic.
You just want to get canceled.
and so like the Nile was too humid and stuff like that, so she actually rode through the deserts of Syria and Lebanon and was probably the first person to do that from the west.
Wait. The Nile was.
Could you explain? Oh, you mean it was too humid to what?
To
float upon?
Exactly, and plus they've been shipwrecked, so
It was too humid, meaning like it was
uncomfortable. Yeah, so she was
Because she was such a priss, she did something nobody else ever did.
yeah.
Well, sailing is just too uncomfortable on the count of the humidity. I mean, my labia is sticking to my goddamn thighs.
But
let's do something Western human beings
I'll run through the
but
desert.
at least it's safe, is the thing.
because on account of no mosquitoes and hippos.
No.
and
The Nile would be safe because it had been done before. The desert is like
Right.
any fucking thing could happen out there.
Remember a guy named Moses?
You know. And then if you start digging tunnels, it's all over.
Yeah,
You know?
well,
Oh
that's-
yeah,
that's
and
what
it's
Moses
an
never touched.
equatorial area too, so the sun's just always there.
So once she's there in Jaffa, she starts going over to Jerusalem, and she
Oh, boy.
she goes up to this kind of like the chief gangster, right? And she just goes into his camp, and she's got some money behind her too, but she goes up to this guy that was Sheikh Abu Ghosh, and he's the head of this clan, and she just goes and she's like, listen, I want to cross here. She's like, I know there's always raids on travelers, and she's like, and she just kind of charms him into like being like, yeah, I'll leave you alone. And not only that, he's he keeps his word, and she goes to Jerusalem and then Nazareth, and she's like the first person that was going to these places that were just words in the Bible at this time,
Right.
to like
Yeah, she takes the dump in the Ark,
ton
the
of
covenant.
Westerners.
It's what causes all those people's faces to melt.
Yeah.
So
Smell.
she takes a huge steamer.
And the reactions to her showing up, I guess, particularly with the turban and men's clothing and the sword, and just being an exotic in that land.
Yes,
Right?
both race and gender.
And then also understanding that there's some kind of pedigree there too. This is a woman of class.
Right.
And so
There's this kind of weird thing of like it is kind of this weird white man's burden condescension, but certain cultures can take at least that effort. They take it in a good way, where it's like, oh, well, like the story is like French people don't like when Americans come there and try and speak French.
right.
But if you go to Japan and you make an effort, they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
great, thanks for trying, awesome. Here's some shit.
Yeah.
Right, but also at the same time, if you give it an honest try, you're not a dick about it. French people are fine with it.
Yeah. But there's also this benefit.
Every French person is fine.
There's
with
this
it. That's
benefit
right.
too, and I want to hear both of your thoughts on it. It's this thing of almost the benefit of being so alone that you're so outnumbered that you elicit sympathy. Like if it was just like in England and there was like one guy from Papua New Guinea, and because then it's not
Got a big old
it's
disc
not
in his lip.
it's not them, it's him.
Right.
And you go like, but he's great. And you're like, oh no, I love him.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like only like racism is a problem when there's like several of you.
Several.
You know what I mean?
Well, when people feel threatened.
Right.
Yeah, because when you're only one, you are the good one.
you're the good because you're
But also,
the only one.
yeah.
And it's this thing of like there's a power there of like you exist,
and it's fetishization,
but also you exist at my pleasure.
And you're not a threat.
Yeah, and it's this thing of you're a little entertaining, you're exotic, you're something new.
It's kind of it's a little, and this is not a judge. There's dustings of fetishization and tokenism, and this is not to. I'm just saying. I'm just getting into the psychology of why the lone person in a place can be treated as. They're a guest.
They're so much more charming or something.
They're a guest.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like it's this thing where you go.
You're not an army.
Yeah, and like.
And if you're a woman, you're not an army.
Right. But she's also doing the thing here too now that I haven't really said up to this point. But there's no veil. Like there's not adhering to.
She's got a turban and
was this the case in this place and time that she needed to have? Or she would.
Nobody. Dude, I mean. The shit she like being on horseback, being armed,
right.
being a woman, not wearing a veil,
right?
But still kind of like showing up looking the part with the turban and stuff.
Right.
Like they were just going like, oh,
yeah, well, she's a guy.
And they were saying like there was people that were like, some thought her female, some thought her male, and some thought her something else entirely.
Well, that's because they maybe like us, they don't believe in gender.
Yes, right. But also like just this thing of like, well, she's just like a tyranny of will. Like she's just a spirit that is always on this thing and approaching every dangerous situation with like the utmost confidence. So like now I buy the bullshit because everybody does. I mean, look at all these fucking people following her. Like, who the fuck are they? That guy's a doctor.
Yeah, there's
yes, I am.
Yeah, and I'm a man. You could say. There's this thing where I'm kind of teasing it out. Where like. Because in this time, in many places in the world at that time, that gender roles were so strict that if you had the balls to subvert them, that people were like, oh, well, yeah, then.
Yeah.
Well, treat her like a guy.
Yes.
Because
and there's also.
She's a guy now. I mean,
also,
she's a woman, but socially she's a guy.
Right.
Because look at what she's doing against all odds.
Yes. And also we don't know what they do over there. We don't know that women.
We don't know how those savage white people work.
And we don't know that women don't even act like this in England. So to them they go like, first of all,
it is a backwards place.
There's probably some Anglo fetishization going on their end, right? Where they go like, oh, they have a king and there's all this stuff. And they're like, they know about the British Empire, so then they want to be also charming to her for that thing where they know Britain is a mighty empire.
Possibly.
But
just under 100 years, they'll redraw the maps of this whole place.
But all of these things are at play, I think. And then also, she is going into anyone, whether you are a ruler or a gangster, and anybody that has power, she's just going in and showing respect and so much courage,
right? So
that they're just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I better not fuck with you because like I don't even know what's going on right now,
right?
And then also she certainly must have been pretty fucking charming.
Yeah. I mean, I think just taking a guess, of course, but it seems like what she did she played the game. She put the effort in to, do some of their customs. It seems like perhaps dressing.
Oh yes,
and talking to the right people, but also
must have had a good interpreter, man.
Maybe that generation that she was dealing with also didn't see white people in that area as sort of a pest or that would destruct.
No,
it was just okay. Well, this is neat. There's a thing I could talk to other. This is a fun time.
It is, yes.
So,
how funny they cannot last in the sun for more than 1 hour.
Yes.
These poor people.
But
unevolved.
They would have these the welcomes she would get would be just so affectionate, that she just kind of started believing she was more important than she really was.
But it reminds me of the pedestrian episode where it's like this guy's gonna walk through the town. I got to see this guy walk through the town.
Right.
And so there's like nothing happens in this place, and all of a sudden this guy's gonna walk through the town while he's walking like for 5 days. I got to see this guy.
Yeah.
And so people just show up just to see the thing.
And that momentum kind of builds its own.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's fucking it's an English lady, fair skinned, and then leading on horseback with a sword in men's clothing, just like all these camels, all this luggage, all these people, and you're going like, what the fuck is this?
And her maid's wearing a maid outfit
And so
the entire time.
people would just be like celebrating, like when she showed up, like they were like who the fuck? And so, yeah, they said some people thought she was a man, woman, or not anything that simple at all.
Something else in time.
Yeah. So now they would like anybody that was kind of like more of a heavy, in kind of like leading a militia or like they all were like trying to get an audience with her, right?
This this is kind of like the High Plains drifter, the stranger that comes to the town
and has no fear.
Right.
So the no fear is the thing where you go like,
there's this deep human thing of not showing your belly, but bowing to this guy comes in big dicks with this lady guy whatever comes in with all this confidence. There must be a reason. Well, let's get this person's favor. There's this deep need for that.
But also
you realize the big dick in the room, and you're like, oh, okay.
Especially and the frankness with which she spoke, it would be very much like, all right, fucking, let's get through the bullshit here. She goes, listen,
here's the deal.
Yeah, you got this area. I want to go through it. Like,
I'm looking for some hard.
I don't want any trouble, and I know that you can give it to me. So, are you going to give me what I want or not?
Yeah.
It also,
and then people would just be like, oh, yeah, man, no, it's cool.
If you're the heavy, you say this is something interesting is happening. I'm the one. I'm the one in town who gets to.
I'm the heavy.
Gets to interact with it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you.
And these guys, I mean, it's just no joke whatsoever. And she's learning the customs, she's learning the languages. So like the reputations of some of these cats would be very much she'd be aware of. Like this guy Amir Bashir. One time a guy rebelled against him, and he castrated the guy's 3 sons. And then he burned out their eyes and he cut out their tongues. So like
he did it all to rhyme.
And it's this slick is no joke. You know what I mean? And she just was like, went in with like her shit of like, I deserve shit and I'm kind of bratty, but also I'm charming. And like he
can't cut my balls off.
And he was just
try it.
And he was just also like, also just seeing like a woman wielding a horse the way she did too was like would blow their minds,
right.
And she started smoking the traditional pipes, that would be like some people in the area would do.
Her doctor's like, this is very good for your health.
And she started saying things like, all of Syria is now astonished at my courage and my success.
That's
something. She started buying her bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, she fucking tokes the pipe and goes like, "I'm the best thing to ever happen to this fucking godforsaken. I could build a better country in my sleep."
So she was going like, oh, like in England they never appreciated me, they never respected me, and she goes like, I finally found the people that do.
Hey, so what's the deal with England?
It was one of these things where you go like, oh yeah, I could see how she could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's the politicians, it's the warlords, it's the gangsters, and they're all just like trying to curry favor with her. And you're like, yeah, no wonder you started buying your own bullshit. So,
but also she potentially, my interpretation is that she also is kind of misinterpreting the excitement of being the outsider.
Right.
As opposed,
right.
Yeah.
It's like when they make that homeless guy mayor of San Francisco.
Right.
For a day or whatever. It's like, I'm the mayor. All right.
Right. Yeah. And there's a thing there too of the attitude of Orientalism. The approach that the British would have, including her, even the most adventurous, being like, oh well, kind of I help tame these savages by being so charming. But
I charm them into the Western way of life.
Now they play checkers. It's amazing.
It used to be Chinese checkers. Now it's just checkers.
Just regular.
So now she wants to visit Damascus, and Damascus is like not into foreigners getting in there at all, and definitely not people from any white countries, and certainly not women. And she just asks for an invitation, and it was the Pasha of Damascus sends her an invite, and then she comes in, no veil, on horseback, and both of those are like people.
This is quite irregular.
It's called Damascus.
Yeah. So at first, people are so shocked at the entrance that it is like you could hear a pin drop, and then the cheers start. And
Slow clap.
and they were just kind of like, they started kind of almost acting like she was like a goddess, and then she was like, well, I'm not going to tell them any different, And there was the city of Palmyra. That was where Queen.
Now there's a Y in there somewhere.
Yeah, Queen Zenobia's ancient kingdom that had defied Rome. The people that were the Bedouins, the tribesmen, were stopping her entrance to it, and she just demanded to meet with the top guy, and of course she got the meeting.
Some young boy wants to meet with
And she goes in complete.
This young boy who's not yet a man grown, who has some very supple taters, and quite a toilet.
Yes.
Would love this young boy. Would like to meet you.
His mustache is not yet grown, I'm afraid. So she goes alone, and people are like, "This guy's a maniac. Do not do that." And she goes alone, and she says, "Quote,"
and I quote,
"I know you are a robber, and that I am now in your power, but I fear you not. I have left behind all those who were offered to me as a safeguard, to show you that it is you whom I have chosen as such." End quote.
You're the real safeguards were the robbers we met along the way.
Yeah. And that is exactly true, Aaron. This guy is so baffled by her courage that he gives her a safe passage, and he gives her 70 swordsmen.
It's very Khaleesi.
The grave robbers we met along the way. It was really, the thugs she ends up taking with her. He gives her his thugs. He's like, yeah, take these psychos with you in case you have any trouble.
These guys are great.
And so she, in 1813, she arrives there in Palmyra. And she says it's, quote, "a forest of mutilated columns carelessly scattered on the tawny plain." And
then Percy would write us.
She leads all these Bedouins in there, and then, like the lower tribes, and down like an old Roman avenue, down to the temple in the beginning. And next to each column, there was a young woman, and as like the parade passed, they would kind of join, right? And it was this huge like procession that was like,
Khaleesi,
it just
Misa,
it really looked like, and she said, "I have been crowned queen of the desert under the triumphal arch at Palmyra. I have nothing to fear. I am the sun, the stars, the pearl, the lion, the light from heaven."
You see how even women can be corrupted into thinking they're gods just like men?
Yeah,
just like us.
But also especially if they have goals that are just like men.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Even women can run patriarchy.
Right. But yeah, it's the thing of
even women.
It's the thing of there's so few of them, and it's usually people.
It's more notable. Absolutely, it's more remarkable, and
but it's also a credit.
Well,
it's a credit to women that there's only a few Thatchers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the things are changing.
I think
yes, that is to say that men and women have different desires and values. And
it was the thing you were saying about like, well, why don't women want to be directors? It's like women aren't that egomaniacal,
right? And the ones that become directors.
But this one was, and we're gonna pause there because she has just crowned herself the queen of the desert, and we will return
Priscilla
with more of Lady Hester Stanhope, the queen of the desert, when we come right back. And we're back. She's just one of the guys.
Oh.
Hey, that's another one of those good movies from the 80s.
Lady Hester Stanhope?
That's one of the guys.
Also, probably a pretty good, genderless porno title.
So I guess her... Just one of the guys?
Sounds like there's a lot of gender in there.
I know. Guys is genderful.
Or just like guys, like Guise.
Oh, okay. That's way better.
Oh, yeah, like in disguise?
Yeah,
right.
Oh my God.
Disguise.
Disguise.
Disguise, but
so she's tearing it up there real good. in the desert, right?
Yeah. She's got a fucking 70-guy crew of thugs.
She's well, that was just on that one trip, but she's establishing clout, and
She's making the rounds.
she's respected, and there's this thing bestowed on her of being the queen of the desert, and then things begin to go down, right?
No. She peaked.
For instance, Michael Bruce, remember him?
Yeah,
Nice
man,
thick thing.
not young anymore. It's desert time.
He's a man grown now.
Englishman in the desert, man.
Yeah. He's like, I want to go get a last name. I can't be just doing this Michael Bruce.
The two will be Bruce. Michael Bruce.
I've grown my mustache. I'm a man grown. So he's like, he's like, my dad's sick. I gotta go. And
My dad's sick.
he says, I'm going to give you £1,000 a year when I return home to England to pay for your adventures.
Bruce says this?
Michael Bruce
says, I will.
So now he's effectively doubling her pension.
Yes. And then he just doesn't, and he writes her like 3 times ever.
He gets home and he's like, there's other ladies here.
He gets home and the talent.
They dress like
the talent's on display. He's like, everybody's choking to death. It's so hot. It's so foggy but it's not at all. It's just pollution. And so there's some other hotties around. He starts dabbling in them, and he's like, I got to go back to this guy in the desert. Not that I believe in guys.
This guy's a queen.
This guy in the desert.
She's in the guise of a guy. Do you get it? And so then there's just terrible plague going around, and she gets a fever that nearly kills her. And a lot of people are like, ooh, maybe that's when she lost.
Same as the flu.
That's when she lost the marbles, like Caligula again.
Oh, so you're saying there's marbles a lot.
And so she kind of starts changing after that, and
Do you okay, go on. So I'll bring it up later.
She's in a little convent, right? Living there.
Oh shit, that's a huge change.
Yeah, in Mount Lebanon, the base of Mount Lebanon, and
is that for her health, or just because
it might have been where she was rehabilitated from sickness.
Her?
No. But she starts acting like she is a queen, and so any person that was just like destitute, she would clothe and feed and take care of.
Oh wow.
Any kind of rogue, outcast, anything. I think she saw herself in them and would just take care of them. Also,
and she's in this convent. She went there as a sick person and then decided to stay.
Yeah, she's just living there now. Yeah.
All right. Hey.
Also, she's got no place for her. Like, there's no.
Got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like she's the queen of the desert, but she's not like really building a palace per se. And so any kind of fucking hoity-toity person too that comes her way, she's like. She throws money at them and stuff, clothing and feeding, the destitute people that show up on her door, and then she to kind of like still placate the princes and the sheiks and all these people. She's borrowing money because she's throwing a lot of money out there. And
I'm sorry, where is this convent?
At the foothills of Mount Lebanon.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so she's then she got this like manuscript or something like that. There was something about treasure buried in the city of Ascalon. There was an ancient kind of document, and she was like led to believe that there was treasure buried there. And she's like, let's go do this. And
get the team back together.
So she leads this expedition.
Being a nun's boring.
She leads this expedition to go get this treasure, and she has to get permission to do it. And at this point, there is already English people that have come to this part of the world and stolen things and taken them back, and then they're still in the British Museum to this day. It's still a controversy.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't.
We saw Black Panther.
she doesn't find it. She doesn't find the treasure. She does find a there was a headless statue, and it was from the Roman period, and she's like, this is also the first time there's been a dig that was basically the modern version of archaeology. It was just painstakingly done, and everything recorded and all that. But so they come up with no treasure, but they do find this statue, and she goes like, okay, well, I don't know why this is their decision making. She goes, destroy it, right? This historical artifact, and that was supposed to be to prove to the local rulers that she was not there to pinch their shit and take it back to England. However, it does not explain why do you have to destroy it and not give it to them.
Right.
Which part of the reason she got, the ability to dig there was these guys. She's like, yeah, if I find gold and shit, you can have some, But like, why not give them also the priceless artifact statue? However, before destroying it, there was just an exhaustive kind of record of what the statue was like.
Good.
Yeah. But
that'll make up.
It was big.
Yeah.
It had no head.
Yeah. I think there was kind of a thing there where she was just like, somebody will steal it and I'll get blamed. And I think she just was like, I'd rather be done with it and prove that I will not steal shit. But also, this whole thing costs so much money, so now she's just gone further into debt, right? And she's already in debt, clothing, the homeless man, And then also any, guy that shows up that is, like, wanting to impress her.
So she does destroy it.
She does destroy it, yes.
And what is the statue something that was, memorable or?
Well, Rome was occupying that part of the world at the time. It was, but
No, I mean, sure, it's a priceless thing, but was it something that?
I don't think so. But it was, not something you should destroy.
Yes,
for sure. So she's still charming the shit out of everybody, but she's getting weird and she's definitely getting broke. And people are like. Still, kind of like flocking to her almost as a leader now, right? So there were people that had murdered a French diplomat, and
in Lebanon.
Yes, and she went to another guy to be like, you need to attack the locals that did this, and so she kind of starts a little local war between tribes. And
causing problems.
Villages are burned, pillaged.
Statues all over the place.
She becomes a nun once.
People dragged away as slaves on the losing side. And she rode her horse through the carnage in triumph. Yeah.
Now she's really a guy.
And
you don't need a turban to be a guy now.
And so then she becomes convinced that she would marry a figure known as the Mahdi, and that was kind of a prophetic. You know about the Mahdi? He's going to kind of like unite the Muslims in righteousness, and she's going to be his bride.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I think she's a little bit too old.
Yeah, and so the prophecy is fulfilled because she has a horse born with a fucked up back, and that this would be the horse to carry her to the Mahdi.
The stallion that mounts the world.
Yeah. Right.
No, I had a dream once a car with a broken wheel was gonna drive me to the Indy 500.
Yeah. So this fucked up back horse was treated just like the best. It was just like pampered like a motherfucker because
living in agony every day.
Yeah.
Should have been put out of its misery.
You're the chosen one.
Kill me.
And so these horses would be fed sherbet.
Great. Perfect.
In the desert?
Sherbet.
Sherbet.
There's a title.
And they were considered holy horses that were actually going to carry the Mahdi.
And diabetic.
And so then she goes in 1821 she goes she leaves that area and she goes further up the mountains to a what was a monastery in ruins. And
Not a city.
she takes that over, and it's like a hilltop kind of castle. And it's really creepy. There's like all these like hidden gardens and like spiral staircases. And
That's great.
yeah,
that
she's
sounds cool.
She loves gardens.
she's loving it.
This destroyed place will be our home.
And the people around it are just like, fucking like mountain peasants, and they look at her like, "Oh my god, you're so impressive."
Is there any word of her entourage at this point? Like who? Because the doctor.
Turtle.
It's
Johnny Drama.
It's dwindling. We'll get there. Yeah.
Victory! Just shouting victory all the time.
Nice. E.
Yeah.
So in the 1820s, then there's a civil war in Lebanon, and people would come up the mountain just to get the fuck out of it, and seek her protection, and she would not turn anybody away. All the refugees got housed in the castle, and she was feeding and clothing hundreds of people. I mean, you got to give it up there. And she lost all of her money, and she borrowed more. The interest rates went higher. She went further into debt. And the two sides of the Civil War, they were like pissed that she was the safe haven, but they never fucked with her. And they were just kind of like afraid of basically like, oh, God knows what the Brits will do if we just execute this person that is obviously meddling in our shit. So they were like, yeah, no, let's not do that. 1825, she hears her another brother killed himself. And that's not good.
In France?
What?
I'm kidding. He killed himself in France? That's where they all died.
Oh, right, yeah. So, she's like, I don't feel like I can go back to England. People know that I was fucking Michael Bruce. I was sucking his big hog. It tastes so good.
I can't go back to England.
You can't go. They know all about Michael Bruce.
Yeah.
Because she was telling them, Aaron. She was telling them.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not?
About his big thickie.
His hyphen of a dick.
She told everybody. Now
Yeah.
you can't go back. You can't go back.
I mean,
Can't go back to the farm.
it's just a shame that, there's such a double standard.
That's true.
Yeah.
I tell everybody about every dick I suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have sex
Nobody
with one
gives a
guy with big
shit.
dick, and it's fine.
But because of the series of now famous love affairs, she was kind of like paranoidly being like, oh, well, I'm like a ruined woman
Right.
in
but
British society.
Ruined.
Meanwhile, they're like, come, tell us.
Well, the thing is that nobody knows that she's really
title.
nobody knows that she's doing this shit out there. All they do know is that a crazy woman did some crazy shit, and they heard more scandalous stuff.
And she
Mostly-
used to suck Michael Bruce's cock.
Right.
Which is also infamous.
So she just is becomes more and more of a hermit too, and this is again probably due to the fever and stuff like that. Now,
That's why it's called a hermit.
Elizabeth Williams, the maid, for
Hermit.
hermit.
Not a hismit.
That's true. It's a
Or a kismet.
it's a hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Her piece.
hermit.
So her maze is.
It's a hermaphrodite.
Yes, not a hermaphrodite.
Sorry.
her maid is still with her this whole time.
Maid Elizabeth is still there,
There's nothing else. I mean,
and she dies in 1828. Right.
I just 1828, just out of boredom.
And now Dr. Charles Merry.
He's still there.
still in the house, man.
I think you're doing well, madam.
It's
Great here. I love it.
It's so good that you're not dying of ill health.
These ruins are like the bodies of my patients.
Now he had been riding the gravy train, right?
Well, yeah.
But he had been hired for a job. He had never been paid.
I've been keeping a ledger, madam, of the bill owed.
I know she's good for it.
The services rendered, as it were, and well, with inflation over the number of
Any
years,
day
and
now.
hazard pay, as it were.
I'm sure through the sands of time, there's a lot of sand around here. I'll be paid in full.
She's not paying
In
for
blood, your blood.
She's not paying for upkeep because she's saving up for the money she owes me.
So he's like in 1831, he's like, I'm gonna go, like, he's like, I'm in love with you, but I'm gonna go back to England
Well, there it is.
and try to have somebody be in love with me
I'm gonna have
because
sex with Michael Bruce.
like
He's Sir Jorah.
he's like
You have a kind heart.
And you have an enlarged heart.
yeah.
You have an ill heart.
so
And a swollen prostate.
and he
was for a lady.
he met a woman and he started a family, which is what he wanted. But he always wanted with Hester Stanhope.
Yeah.
But she was like Michael Bruce and his big sticky. You know what I mean?
Oh, I used to tongue his schmeg.
God.
Is that true?
Yeah, I heard.
Did you do reading? Okay.
Is it corroborated?
The doctor said it was good. Both.
It's
It's the good fact.
collaborate. It's elaborated.
Oh,
I don't know. What?
no.
I'm sorry.
That's sick.
So he still loves her even though he's married, and he visits her 2 more times, because he's worried about her health, ill health. You could die of that.
Yeah.
And just the safety of being surrounded by a civil war. His last visit was 1837, and he just sees such decay
in her.
Yeah, and her teeth are gone.
Oh God.
She can't really see.
What?
What happened? She get diabetes? or something?
Her back's all fucked up, and she's
From the horseback ride.
The horse's back is fine.
she's coughing up blood.
Oh God.
And he said,
Such dust, such confusion, such cobwebs.
Ugh.
I'm out of here.
Now I must strike while the iron is hot.
Damn it, Matt.
She won't know what hit her.
I tell you what, I'm gonna hit it twice, then I'm taking the next camel out of here.
2-3 years of nut busting and I am out.
2 humps and I'm on a camel out of here.
Call me a camel, because it's 2 humps. I'm a 2-hump chump, as it were.
Call me Joe Camel, because I'll suck the fucking thing.
Because I'm a dickhead.
so this bloke from England, Alexander Kinglake, he comes by and
Kinglake
in 1835, and he sees that she's doing a thing where like she'll hide everything but her face and her hands, and her turban is now gigantic, right? She's got like the biggest.
Yeah, she's a tumor.
The
or
biggest.
Why her back's all fucked up?
And her face was astonishingly pale.
In the desert?
Yeah, and she's toking on her bong or whatever she's got out there.
Hookah.
And
Got a weed out, got a bong out.
And he said that she said she only trusted the stars for her sublime knowledge.
Ugh.
John Hamm.
Now I know she's a woman.
Her debt is like insane, right?
So much for being a guy.
Yeah.
Her debt is totally nuts, and the monastery she occupied and made her home is just falling apart.
It was falling apart when she
It's
showed
in
up.
disrepair.
The help can't be paid, and they would just steal shit.
That's not help.
And the government cut off her pension.
Wait, the one that her uncle gave her?
Yeah.
And that was because that was actually the government was trying to curry favor with a Turkish guy that had loaned her money. So that was the deal that they cut her off, and they also didn't pay him. So
sounds about right.
Shit.
So now she's got nothing. Victoria has just become queen. She starts writing to her, and she's like, I'm going to remain in my home as if I were in a tomb till my character has been done justice to. And she walls up the house.
She goes back to England.
No, stays in the monastery
She walls up the monastery
so people can't come collect money. She just creates a wall, and then
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that. That's
Yeah.
an option. Just completely.
And also, Lebanon's not an easy place to get to back then.
Well,
you know?
especially in the mountains.
I've been wondering, how do they get her, like, when she had a
There's
pension?
no address.
How did they get her money when she had a pension? Like, what was that process like?
There must have been the Knights Templar
The
Bank.
check is in the mail, I'm afraid.
Oh, the female.
Check, man. Rain, nor sleet, nor desert.
No skeet.
So yeah, she lives there for a few more months, and she dies with a bunch of cats.
Typical.
63, and
Well, I mean,
Hey,
pretty
nice.
pretty good run.
you know,
all things considered.
out there in the desert.
Somebody came from Britain and took the body and
scooped up her bones.
yeah, and
the doctor showed up and he's like, I think there's something wrong with it.
Sir, her health is falling ill, I'm afraid.
yeah,
Leave me alone with the body while it's still warm, if you would, and be a good chap. A couple of things. Probe. I've got to probe a couple of things. Unpaid debts, as it were.
Doctor.
yeah.
Back to the reason I was excommunicated from the medical school, I suppose.
No, I am back.
Old habits die hard, as am I.
So she was at first buried.
He's fucking a dead body.
She was buried in the garden at Dijon, and that tomb was destroyed during the Civil War, and then
she was buried in a tomb that was destroyed.
yeah, and then she was reburied in another garden of the ambassador to Britain's summer home, and then in 2004 her ashes were scattered over the ruins of her former home, and the thing is, a few years after her death,
Dr. Marion.
It's still alive.
he wrote 3 volumes of her memoirs.
Holy shit.
Of all the travels with her and just being like, she did all, and like nobody knew until the word got out. So like even Queen Victoria getting these letters being like, look, I did all this shit. It's like nobody knew.
But in 2004, they were collected and...
No. That happened like 5 years after she died.
What was the 2004?
2004 is what they just moved they scattered her ashes.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But the whole story of Lady Hester Stanhope came out because of the doctor who she didn't love that loved her.
Right.
He wrote 3 volumes on the adventures they had traveling the world before fucking Lawrence of Arabia.
Meanwhile, his wife is like, will you fuck me?
Today, we went on the most astonishing adventure. Lady Hester did not fuck me.
Just at the beginning of every diary.
If you wish to continue, please proceed. But no, today's entry, there's no fuckery.
No. And like in her later years, she had some quote saying like everything was falling apart around her.
I wish I could find a nice man like a doctor.
she said something like along the lines of like, well, there's no use complaining about it, which I love.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been spoiled my whole life, and now everything's going wrong, and now I don't have the fucking, the pension. But like, she goes, shit happens.
Right. Well, she's blind at that point, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, fomenting war with and like, just, I mean, creating like this fantasy world that everybody was kind of going along with. It's just absolutely a baffling story.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of precedent for that. When the Spanish came to South America.
Always with the Spanish.
And it's not like they didn't think that he was a fucking god or anything like that. They didn't think it was the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, like they'd seen humans.
They've
before.
seen white people,
Right.
but it was a novelty, and it was and so many
It was
cultures.
neat.
It was
It was
neat.
neat. This is neat.
Hey,
Yeah, that's a nice time.
neat horse, neat armor, neat sword.
Please don't drain our city.
Yeah, there was also in the ancient cultures there was a thing of like, oh well, you treat guests better than you treat your people of your tribe.
Well, especially
this hospitality
and
ethos.
also there's no conquest there, right? It's just her going like,
Passing through.
I'm passing through, and like
Mhm.
I got some shit I want to do, but also like my shit's not gonna fuck your shit up.
Right.
I'm not here.
I'm just passing through town to exact vengeance on the people that killed me, and now I'm a ghost.
I'm not here.
I
I'm
could
not,
use a cigar and a place for the night and a woman.
yeah, I'm not here to steal your shit.
I'm here to steal the next guy's shit.
but and anybody that is a big wig in your area, like I'm gonna treat respectfully, probably bribe them, shower them with gifts, kind of thing.
You send this big wigs in my area?
Oh yeah, there are hot bigwigs in your area.
Oh boy.
Looking now.
Oh boy.
And
Small
bigwig.
Haberdashers hate this guy.
Oh yeah, Big Wig is moving into haberdashery big time.
Bro, putting a big hat out of business.
But yes. Yeah,
I can't make a hat big enough for these wigs.
Why, you're as mad as a wigger.
You won't last 5 minutes combing this mane.
Should we fuck off, fellas?
Well, actually, hold on. I want to briefly touch on.
You want to take a break
You
before?
want to touch on the
No.
fucking thing, you pervert?
Touch on it.
So it really seems like something changed when she had her fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also the whole thing from the get-go was kind of just an insane expedition. Like, there was no... The goal was to, infiltrate Napoleon's army, and that went nowhere fast.
Yeah.
And then
that wasn't even a good
And then the idea was like,
Yeah.
let's go to...
Yeah, she became a cat lady.
Let's go to fucking Nazareth. Like,
Yeah.
after that, it was just like... let's just do adventuring, because I don't want to go back to England, because...
Right. I guess the signs were there.
Yeah, like, it was like... It's this weird tyranny of the idea of what people think of you back home, where it's just like, man, forget all that shit. All those people in high school don't think about you, man. Like,
Right.
just go live your life.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, some of them were dead.
And she definitely was, but then also she got caught up in like this there was almost this idea of I think she wanted to like return home as a champion and
You'll see.
rub everybody's faces in it, you know? And,
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't.
Yeah,
thought
there's some
about
little
that,
delusions of grandeur in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Sure.
But also,
you know,
being the outcast, and I mean, there is a thing where like everybody wants to shove everybody's face in it, you know?
So
Like,
I get off.
yeah.
but I
Look
mean,
at the mess you made, John.
I mean, it's hard to say that there was any. I mean, obviously she wasn't gonna fuck with Napoleon, but
Maybe.
But she was.
Take him to fucking Waterloo, feed him some ice cream.
Yeah, I mean,
he loves that
I
shit.
mean, with all of these big wigs that she was meeting, like it seems like her confidence wasn't necessarily misplaced.
Oh yeah, she actually shaved her head to have the turban fit.
I mean,
more accurately.
That's great too. Also,
She's
like every movie, that's the sign of that crazy next step.
yeah,
yeah.
it's a commitment.
Yeah, I'm quite taken by her.
Yeah, I want to, maybe spread the word about her.
Yeah,
But it also it seems like the journey was over and the party was over and she was like, no, hey guys, we're
Hey,
still
guys.
partying, we're still partying.
I'm a
right?"
nun now.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's more party than a nun,
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. I mean, she was just I mean, she was definitely doing the right thing, taking care of everybody to her own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't care about that at all. It was just like but I think it was also one of those things of like taking on the role of like, I am the goddess, and if I don't heal you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the goddess anymore. So I have to,
Right.
even if it means like now everybody's stealing my shit and there's just cats here. Like,
and maybe
keep it up till the end, right?
she might have been better placed being like, okay, the doctor, he's been here the whole time.
I'm Charles Marion.
I'll
I'll let him knock me up.
yeah, or
Trick him into sticking
or
around.
not even knock me up, just like I'll let him. He'll like
Keep me in non-ill health.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she thought she was too good for him. Maybe she just didn't care for him, and that's fine too.
The cobwebs are terrible. I have a wife and a son at home. You have no teeth. What am I doing here?
Yes.
Let me try that.
Yes.
out.
Well, let's see.
No teeth. Well, I guess they say
Keep it in the family.
It's so dumb. Doesn't even make sense.
Well,
Keep it in the practice.
practice makes perfect, I suppose.
All right.
I'm not a dentist. Now you ready to wrap the fucking thing
we've
up?
covered. Wait, no.
I'm a doctor, not the dentist. Damn it!
Stop. I'm just saying we've covered the thought I had.
Got it.
Yeah.
Should we fucking? This was really nice.
You like
I've
that
never
shit?
heard of this fucking lady in my life.
Lady Hester Stanhope.
And
I've got 2 more volumes being published now. In fact, the third one gets quite weird, I'm afraid.
cats, nunneries,
Ever work with actor cats?
dentures.
Breakfast series.
They're not so good.
Let's fuck off. Let's fuck off. That's so stupid.
Nice.
Fellas, I love you. I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Peter.
Pepper so.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Starburns Audio.